Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. We record these interviews so that potential buyers can learn more about the business and the seller to help them make an informed buying decision. If you would like to learn more about this business, including details like what type of business it is, how much revenue and profit it makes, and all of the assets included with the business, simply visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for this business's listing number, which you can find in the video thumbnail and in the description. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. So without further ado, let's get into this interview. First up, let's learn a little bit about you. Can you tell us about your background in building and running online businesses?
So my background is in real estate. I started off as a licensed real estate agent. I'm actually still a licensed real estate agent. And I discovered the opportunity to build this business while working on one of the largest real estate agent teams in all of Southern Arizona, where on this team, I was working as an ISA, which is an inside sales agent. And I was also managing all of the inbound lead flow from all of the different lead generation and lead sources that this real estate team was using. For example, Zillow, Realtor.com, OpCity, Boomtown, Ylopo, all the different lead gen companies. We had leads coming in from tons of different companies at all hours of the day. And essentially my role as an ISA was to contact and follow up with all of those leads as soon as they came into the system so that we can book them in for like listing appointments or buyer's consultations with one of the more traditional agents that worked actually like out in the field. So I spent all my time in the office. The other agents spent their time meeting face to face with buyers and sellers and actually closing the deals. And so while I was on this team, we didn't have a lot of super organized systems. And so I started building my own organized systems while being a part of this team. And then eventually it got to the point where I was doing all of their internal marketing and everything for them, running ads on social media, things like that, generating the actual leads, as well as following up with the leads to book them in for appointments. And it got to the point where I figured, hey, I could just do this for other agents and teams and brokerages all across the country. I don't need to limit myself to just this one team. And so I ended up going out on my own. Fast forward about 2.5 years. We've worked in over 150 different markets. We've worked with hundreds of agents across the whole country. And yeah, that is a little bit of a background on how the business has come to be.
Why are you selling the business now instead of keeping it and growing it further?
My primary reason for selling the business is actually entirely just personal. There's nothing wrong with the business. I'm actually very, very confident that it will continue to grow with or without me. We've already built out plans for 2026 on how we plan to continue scaling the business and double the size of it just in the first quarter of 2026. It's really just a matter of me having been doing this for several years at this point and ready to move on to a different industry just purely out of passion. And as a founder, as an entrepreneur, I don't like to be involved in multiple projects at the same time. I like to be all in on whatever project is directly in front of me. And so I am looking at transitioning into a completely different industry in the e-commerce space and stepping away from the agency game that I've been playing for the last few years. So that is my primary reason for selling.
Can you describe the amount and the type of work that you do on this business to maintain it?
As the CEO of the business, my workload is very, very minimal. I typically have anywhere from like 1 to 3 or 4 meetings a day at absolute most. That's pretty much just meeting with my head of fulfillment. So checking in on the back end just to make sure everything's going smoothly, get an update and everything. And then I'll also meet with my head of acquisition or my sales manager who runs the sales team, meets with the appointment setting team, the closers and everything, and is in charge of that whole side of the business. So I'll meet with each of them just to go over KPIs, make sure performance is good and everything. And that's pretty much all I'm mostly in charge of. And then things like billing as well. Like if a client owes us money, like I'll do the manual billing and stuff in Stripe and everything. if we need to, at least from like, just clicking buttons standpoint. But if somebody owes us money, our head of fulfillment will go ahead and call up that client and collect that on his own or get like new cards on file. I don't do anything like that. And yeah, that's pretty much what my like work looks like as a minimum from a maintenance perspective. And then typically I like to go above and beyond and work on extra projects and things like that to continue like pushing the business forward and growing it larger and larger and larger. So from a maintenance perspective, it's really just a couple meetings a day, doing payroll, billing, things like that, like tracking our finances, things like that. And then if we want to go above and beyond, then I'll, work on extra projects and stuff here and there.
So if you were to keep this business, what are some of the ways you would try to grow it?
So right now we have a really solid plan in place on how we plan to continue growing the business. One thing is going to be launching a low ticket paid ads offer. So we've built out courses and assets and all kinds of things that we could be selling to run like a self-liquidating paid ads funnel. That's one project we have in the works. Another one is basically copy pasting our entire fulfillment and acquisition systems into a parallel industry, a parallel niche where the delivery systems are exactly the same. So to explain what that means is right now we're in the business of generating buyers and seller leads for real estate agents. If we were to copy paste our business directly into the mortgage lending niche, nothing would change. We would still just be generating buyers. Or, for example, if we did it in the real estate investor niche, then we would just be generating sellers. So our product stays exactly the same. We're just selling it to a different person. And so that is another big project that we have in the pipeline for Q1 of 2026.
Right. And what would you say are the biggest risks with this business that buyers should be aware of?
I don't think there are necessarily any big risks in this business or anything, as long as the buyer has the necessary experience that they need to be like the CEO of a company. Because at the end of the day, agencies are primarily built up of people. We have a team of, I believe, 18 people at the moment. And if you're not a capable leader and able to lead and motivate a team to continue wanting to work for the company and continue growing and stuff, then you're going to lose people and you're going to struggle with continuing to grow. So that's really the only risk. But if you have those leadership skills, it isn't a risk at all.
How much support are you willing to offer the buyer who acquires this business?
In terms of post-sale support, I'm willing to stay on as a consultant for up to 90 days. So 3 months, I'm willing to give 5 to 10 hours a week to the buyer. I have no intentions of like hopping on meetings with the team or anything like that, or anything crazy. And honestly, we've got training and recordings of meetings and how to handle and meeting agendas, things like that. So like the new CEO should be able to handle anything like that just fine on their own. But I am willing to meet with the owner for 5 to 10 hours a week for up to 90 days. Like, weekdays, basically just to consult, answer questions, and kind of fill their mind with like the expertise that I've developed over the past several years of running this business.
Are you open to negotiating something like an earn-out agreement?
I am open to creative financing, but I'm not interested in staying on as like an employee or anything like that on an earn-out basis. Like I said in the last question, I'm willing to stay on for up to 90 days and consult from that kind of standpoint. So I'm open to creative financing. As far as like an earn-out payment structure, it would depend on the...
Okay, final question. If you had to put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why is your business a business worth buying?
I think this business is absolutely worth investing into and purchasing because of the extreme level of growth that we've seen since launching the business. We about 5x our revenue after our first full year of business, and then we almost tripled it again in our second full year in business. And so the growth is very strong. We have a really, really solid team in place. The owner involvement is very, very minimal. And on average, over the past 12 months, we've been cash flowing about $30,000 in pure profit every single month. So I think there's also a ton of potential too. The real estate industry is huge. There's so many people involved in it. There's so many people to sell to and so many people who need help growing their businesses. And so we solve a huge problem in the industry. And I think we can continue to scale that even further.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this business is still for sale, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for this business listing number, which you can find in the video thumbnail and description. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll find everything you need to know about this business. So, thanks for joining us. See you next time.